Hello, class 9. I welcome you with the poem The Road Not Taken, and the poem is written by Robert Frost. Before reading this poem, I want to tell you something about this poem, why this poem was written, and what this poem is about. So, in the poem, The Road Not Taken, the road, this road, the road, the road symbolizes our life. Okay, the road symbolizes our life. The poet says that the path that we don't choose in our life is the road not taken. What is the road not taken? In our life, the path that we don't choose. The path that we don't choose. That is the road that not taken. He describes his feelings about the choices that he had left in the past. When something happens with you, mm, when you are to make choices out of two or many, then you are in a confusion that what you should choose. The same thing happened with Robert Frost, and he describes his feelings about that choice that he had left in the past. The path which we have chosen decides our future, our destination. The important message that the poet wants to give is that the choice that we make has an impact on our future. And if we make a wrong choice, we regret it but cannot go back on it. So we must be wise while making choices. So this was the message, or this was the conclusion, or we can say this was the extract from this poem, that whenever you make any choice in your life, you should be very wise, because sometimes it may happen with you that you regret the path that you don't choose, means the road you did not take. So here Robert Frost is talking about the road that he did not choose. So this is a poem of 20 lines, and there are four stanzas. Each stanza has 5 lines. So I start now. As you know very well, that road symbolizes life, and means the ways of life. So we start now. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. So, before explaining this stanza, I will tell you about the meaning of some words like diverged. Diverged means separated and took a different direction. Like you are walking in on this road, and suddenly you get divergence from here. You see two roads here, so this is called the diversion. Okay, means separated and took a different direction. From here you get two different directions. Yellow wood means a forest. Wood means a forest. Why it is yellow? Because you can see decomposing leaves. Why? Because it is the season of autumn. It is a season. It is a season when leaves fall. Okay, so we can see that it is autumn. Undergrowth. Undergrowth means dense growth of plants, and bushes means the forest. Like this is the road, and on this road, when you see many plants, and the road is not clear, or it is not visible at all, so it is undergrowth. Okay, so these were the words that were important from first stanza. Now I explain this for you. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it went in the undergrowth. What happened that once the poet was walking down a road. The poet was walking on this road, and then there was a diversion. Means he saw two roads. Okay, there were two different paths. He has to choose one. He has to choose. He had to choose one out of them because he cannot go both the road the same time because he is one single person. So how he can be on both the roads the same time? The poet says that he was one person. He be one traveler. Okay, he was one person. He could travel on one road only. He had to choose. He had to choose one out of them. The poet says that he was one person. He could travel on one road only. He had to choose one out of these two these two roads. Yellow wood means a forest with leaves which are wearing out and they have turned yellow in color. The season of autumn, I already told you. It represents a world which is full of people. It is full of people where people have been living for many years. They represent people who are older than the poet. Here, other people are also there. They represent the people who are older than the poet. The poet kept standing here. The poet kept standing here and looked at the path. He looked one path out of two, and he looked very carefully as far as I could. He's saying that I looked down. He stood there for a longer time and he thought about this. He kept standing there and looked at the path very carefully, and he saw it as far as he could see it. Before taking the path, he is thinking that which road he should take. So before going to any road, he is looking one of them. He was able to see the path. He was able to see the path till from where it curved, after which it was covered with trees and was hidden. Uh, for some time it was visible, but after a distance, he could not see this road. It was not visible for him. Why? Because of the grass, because of the small plants, it was not visible for him at all. And it bent also because not every road is straight. It bent, and due to this bend and due to some grass, some plants, it was not visible at all for him. Now, what did he do? Then took the other. Then he thought about this road. First he thought about this. Now he is thinking about this road. Why he is thinking about this? Before going further, I'll again explain you some words like fair means good as the first one, and claim means better option than the first one. Grassy, why it is grassy? Because the road that we don't use, it is with grass or some plants, so it was grassy because it was unused. And wanted wear means, as it is grassy, so it is wanted wear because it had not been used. That's why it is wanted wear. So the poet had a thought about this road. Now he is thinking about this one, the other one. Then took the other. He thought about this road. Why? Because as just as fair. This was as good as this. Okay. And having perhaps the better claim. Maybe this road is better for him. He is thinking this. Because it was grassy, he can see some grass here, and this was less traveled. Why this was less traveled? Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. What he's saying, I explain this you. The poet kept on looking at one path for a long time to check if it is the right path for him or not, and then he decided and started working on the other path because he felt that the both paths were equally good. He says just as fair, so he felt that both paths were equally good and started working on one of them. He adds that maybe he felt that the path was better for him, so he chooses it as it had grass on it, which means that it was unused. Not many people had walked on this path earlier. That is why this path was grassy. And wanted wear means that it was not walked over by many people. After he walked on the path for some distance, he realized that both the paths had been worn out the same way. Both the paths were similar and worn out. Even in our life, we take any path or option, but all of them have the same benefits, disadvantages, problems, challenges, and we must face them. We think that we are choosing a better option, but it's not that way. So I hope this is all clear for you now. Two roads that symbolizes two ways of life, and the poet is sorry. The person is sorry because he cannot travel both the road the same time. He start thinking about one one road or one way of life, but as it bent somewhere and due to undergrowth, grass and some small plants, he could not see it further because those things blocked his view. Then he thought about the other way, and the other way was as fair, means as good as this was, and perhaps it was the better choice for him because it was less used, less traveled, and he it was less used. Why it was less used? Because he could see the leaves there were not black, not brown, uh, because people use this less. So we go further. The third stanza. And both that morning equally lay before him. The two roads before him are equal. In leaves, no step had trodden. Trodden means walked over. Okay, trodden means walked over. Trodden means over, walked over. And both that morning equally lay before him. Both the ways, both the roads are equal. And in leaves, the leaves on these roads were not walked over. Okay, both the roads were fresh. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Now, what the poet is saying, that he will choose the first way the next time. Okay, he will save it for the next time. Yet, knowing how way leads on to way, I doubt if I should ever come back. Though he knows very well that once he chooses this path, he will never be able to take the first road in his life because he knows very well that how way leads. So I explain this one more time so you can get better meaning of this. What the poet is saying, the poet says that both the paths were similar that morning. This morning, these two roads, both these roads are similar for him. Why? Both had leaves on them. On both paths, he saw leaves here, here. He saw leaves on both the roads, and no one had stepped on them because this was not walked over. These leaves were not walked over, so no one had stepped on them as they were still green. Why? Because the leaves were still green. The leaves were not black or brown. They were green, means they were not walked over. He decided that the day he would take one path. Now, what he has decided, now what he had decided that he he would take one path and keep the other path for another day. He would take one path and he would save this path for some other day. But he knew that he could not go back. He could not go back. He could not reverse his choice that he had made. Similarly, even in our life, once we choose an option, we must keep on moving ahead with that option, and we never get a chance to come back and take the other option that we had left earlier. The same thing happened with the poet, because he chose one path and he thought that he would save this path for some other day. But you know very well, once we have chosen one option in our life, it is not possible for us to go back and to correct our choice. So what he's saying, that that morning both equally lay, both means both the roads were equal for him, or both the path had leaves on them and the leaves were not walked over. So he chose one out of them, he chose one out of the roads, and he saved one for the next time. Though it was in his mind that how way leads, means he would not be able to correct his choice or to change his choice in his life. He had a doubt in his mind that he will never come back. It will not. There will be no chance for him to change his choice. So I think this is explained for you. Now the last stanza. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. So these are the very important and beautiful lines from this poem. Two roads diverged in a wood, and took, I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. These are the most beautiful lines by Robert Frost. Sigh means sigh means deep breath, uh, especially when you are sad. Hence means from in the future. So what he's saying? He's saying that I shall be telling this. I shall be telling this. He says that in the future he will take a deep breath and say that once upon a time, he had reached such a point, you know, the point where two roads diverged. This is the point. Such a point in life that there were two options before him, and he traveled on that road which had been traveled upon by lesser number. He took that road which were less used or less walked over. The decision of his that decision of his decided his future. That decision, as your decisions decide your future, so his decision decided his future. So similarly, in future, when you grow up, then you will say that once upon a time when you were wrong, you had two options. The choices that you made you what you became of it. This very strong message for all the students. Okay, for you this is very important message, that the choices you make your life. We can say like this, that the two roads diverged in a wood means two roads in your life, and you chose the one that was less traveled by, means the people did not use that much. And this is the thing that makes difference in your life. So this was all for this poem. I hope this is clear to you. If you have any doubt, any problem, You can comment and I'll solve that problem. One more time, I explain this. You know very well that, sorry, yes. So, two roads on a point, he is standing. He is standing on a point where he sees two roads, but he could not go on both the roads because he is one traveler. So, he thought about one and he looked on it, but due to bent on it and due to undergrowth or small plants and grass, he could not see further. So then he thought about the other way. This was equally good as this was, as the previous one was, and he saw this that this was less traveled. It was with grass, and people use this less than this. And but on that morning, he had those two roads with leaves on them, and the leaves were not worked over. So he had a doubt that what choice he should make. Then he saved one path for the future and he chose the another one which was less traveled by, means the path that people used less. Again, the same thing I'm repeating, and this was his decision. This was his decision that made all the differences in his life. So, what the poet is saying, the road not taken. The road not taken means the road that he did not choose, the path that he did not choose. He is regretting. Regretting means to express, uh, express grief, the choices that you don't make in your life. So you just go through this poem. I hope this is clear to you very well. I tried my best, but if you find some correction, please comment and I'll try to improve this more. Thank you. We'll meet